4.6 billion years ago, a huge space rock crashed into the young Earth. Our planet was a molten sphere at that time. So what could have been so special about this event? Why do scientists think it was the most important in the history of our species? Why is NASA sending yet another spacecraft to an asteroid in 2023? What does this asteroid called Apophis have to do with all of this? Scientists believe that it was thanks to this meteorite that life appeared on our planet. We're not saying that there were aliens who sent us a gift from space or something like that. It's just that without this collision, there would have been no conditions for life on Earth. You can check it yourself. In 2021, scientists published the results of their research suggesting that amino acids necessary for all life on Earth formed in space. And in this video, we'll tell you why they decided to send yet another spacecraft to an asteroid and what new discoveries await us. Let's start with a little reminder. What's the name of our home planet? Of course, Earth. How did it get that name? Where did that word come from? It's easy to find out. Just open any dictionary. The word Earth comes from the Old English word eor, eth, which means ground, soil. That's where we get the word Earth. Now look at the word asterisks. Do you see any resemblance? Exactly. Asteroids. So let's talk about them. Asteroids are rocky bodies that orbit the Sun. Their diameter ranges from several meters to hundreds of kilometers. Scientists estimate that there are more than 1 million asteroids of various sizes in the solar system, but they aren't dangerous. Even if a large asteroid collides with our planet, its composition will help us rather than harm us. It consists of iron, magnesium, calcium, aluminum, and silicon, and that's very important. In 1910, a bright green object passed over the sky of Western Australia. Astronomers estimated that the diameter of this object was about 30 meters. They also calculated its orbit and found out that it would pass close to Earth in 2029. This asteroid was named 99942 Apophis, after the Egyptian god of chaos and evil. But don't worry, although at first it seemed that the asteroid would fall right on us, now we know that Apophis will safely pass by our planet at a distance of about 31 million kilometers. So what did NASA decide to send a spacecraft to an asteroid that poses no threat to Earth? Let's take a look at the spacecraft itself. It's called the DART spacecraft, which stands for Double Asteroid Redirection Test. This spacecraft was launched on November 24, 2021, and it reached its destination on September 26, 2022. And that destination was the asteroid Didymos. Don't be confused if you haven't heard of this asteroid. It's pretty small, with a diameter of only 7.4 miles or about 12 kilometers. Didymos has two bodies orbiting it, one large and one small. The big one is called Dimorphos. That's the satellite, and it's the target of the DART spacecraft. Why did they choose this particular asteroid? Because here, NASA can test how to change the trajectory of an asteroid and possibly even push it away from Earth. What's interesting, this mission is the first in history when a spacecraft will attempt to change the trajectory of an asteroid. So far, we can only observe asteroids and predict their movement, but now we'll be able to influence the asteroid and deflect it from its course. But how exactly did they manage to do that? The DART spacecraft had a kinetic impactor. In other words, it deliberately crashed into the asteroid. This impactor was 550 kilograms heavy, and it represented about 7% of the spacecraft's total mass. On the day of the impact, the speed of the DART spacecraft relative to the asteroid was about 6.6 kilometers per second. At the time of the collision, the kinetic energy of the impactor was approximately 5 megajoules. This energy was completely transferred to the asteroid. According to rough estimates, it should have accelerated it by a few centimeters per second. And now wait a bit. Why didn't they just attach the impactor to the asteroid instead of crashing into it? Actually, they could have done that, but then they wouldn't have been able to measure the results of the experiment. If you just attach something to an asteroid, it'll affect its trajectory, but you won't know if it's because of the added weight or for some other reason. When you crash into an asteroid, the effect will be much greater, but you can also measure the result much more accurately. Did NASA succeed? Preliminary data suggests that yes, they did. On October, 3 days after the impact, NASA released the first images taken by the Italian space agency's Licia Cube satellite. It was launched along with the DART spacecraft, although their tasks were different. The satellite was supposed to simply observe the experiment and transmit the results to Earth. The pictures show the surface of the asteroid before and after the impact. It looks like a giant web. And those small objects flying away from the asteroid are, in fact, pieces of rocks ejected from its surface. Scientists calculated that the asteroid was accelerated by about 32 minutes. That's quite a lot considering that its initial speed was 18 kilometers per second. To put it simply, the asteroid now moves a little faster, and it'll move farther away from its main body. In the future, scientists will have to analyze these data, study the material of the asteroid, and draw conclusions. What if this method of changing the trajectory of an asteroid turns out to be effective? Then, in the future, we'll really be able to protect our planet from collisions with space rocks. But let's get back to our story about the asteroid that gave birth to life on Earth. Perhaps that meteorite contained organic matter. Modern life originated from it. What if ancient people knew about it somehow? Does that mean that ancient people might have known about aliens? Some researchers believe that aliens may have visited Earth in the distant past, and left their descendants in the human race. If we find evidence of this, it would be sensational. It would solve many questions related to the origin of life on Earth. Many artifacts have been discovered that could serve as evidence in favor of this theory. Take, for example, the Baghdad battery. It was discovered in 1936 in the Iraqi city of Baghdad, hence its name. This artifact dates back to the Parthian or Sassanid era, that is, it's between 247 BC and 651 AD. Archaeologists came across 7 clay jars, each containing a copper vessel, a metal pin, and an iron nail. All these objects were placed in such a way that they formed a kind of cell. What's interesting, all these parts fit perfectly together and they form a real electric battery. Well, at least modern experts were able to charge a mobile phone with this thing. There are many similar artifacts that are difficult to classify. For example, the Antikythera mechanism. It was discovered in 1902 off the coast of the Greek island of Antikythera. It turned out to be a complex device made of bronze and many gears. Its purpose was to determine astronomical positions, that is, the device served as a kind of calendar. It's believed that it was created no earlier than the 2nd century BC. The device is over 2,000 years old, but the level of its development suggests that its creators must have possessed technologies unknown to us. Otherwise, how could they have made such a thing back then? But maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves. What if this isn't an artifact of alien technology but just a coincidence? After all, every year archaeologists find more and more evidence of the high development of ancient civilizations. Perhaps someday we'll find out that the ancient people knew much more than we thought. Maybe they really did have knowledge about the stars and the structure of the universe. What's your opinion? Leave a comment about this below, and don't forget to subscribe. You never know. You might be the first to learn about the discovery of alien artifacts.